Hi, as we dive into the world of natural healing, I'd love to introduce you to Amelia South. Now, Amelia is a professional forager instructor and a practicing herbalist who has traded pharmaceuticals for the abundance of remedies provided by what's on our earth. I mean, my goodness, it's amazing what she has done. She she relies on nature, as I hope we all do. While most of us are reaching for a pill or booking a doctor's appointment at the first sign of an illness, Amelia steps out of her door into her kitchen or into her kitchen cupboard, mixing different teas and healing herbs and tinctures and syrups and more from plants she has found in the woods or in her own backyard. That's amazing, right? So, living on her small organic farm in Connecticut, Amelia is on a mission to help us reconnect with the inherent power of Mother Nature and escape the harmful effects of the toxic Western diet. If you've ever been curious about healing from the earth, this is for you. So get ready and learn how to bring the gifts of the wild into your daily wellness routine. And I want to say, welcome, Amelia.
Thanks, Peggy.
So
Um,
I want to start by I want to ask you, how did you get into this? Did you do this your whole life? Did you grow up doing it?
I did grow up playing in the woods a lot, like most kids do, in rural areas. I remember being like 6 years old and crawling under a bush with my cousins, and my cousins were like, "Hey, look at this little plant. It kind of looked like a clover." They said, you can eat that, right?" And I'm 6 years old, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I ate it, and thank God they weren't lying because I would have been dead. Um, 6-year-old trusts everybody. But it turned out to be wood sorrel, which is a plant that I commonly tell all kinds of kids all over the place. I'm like, look try this. This is great because it's sour and it's like eating a Sour Patch Kid, but it's a plant. So it's really neat. I did start, I started foraging for like wild food in 2006 when I was poor as hell living in a crappy apartment in Washington State by myself. I just I saw a lot of blackberries growing on the alongside of the road one day, because there's a huge blackberry, like invasive blackberry problem out there. And I was like, hey, you know what? I can eat those. Those are great. I brought a bowl from my kitchen, filled up the bowl, brought it back to the house and my apartment rather, and taught myself how to make jam and freeze it and all kinds of stuff with the berries. So that was like the first time I ever foraged on purpose. And then I started getting into herbal medicine and herbalism. Shortly after my daughter was born in 2009, because when you've had a baby, if anybody is a mother, you can't give anything to a baby. There's like nothing safe you can give to an infant until they're like at least almost a year old. And my daughter, around 2 weeks old, got colic. So colicky, screaming baby. I had no idea what to do. I'm frazzled, like no sleep. And I looked up, and I had this book that somebody had given me, this herbal, mother book. And so I looked it up, and they said try chamomile tea. So I brewed some cheap grocery store chamomile tea. I nice and strong, and I gave her some, and it actually seemed to help calm her down. So I was like, "Oh my God, this works!" And then she got an upset stomach, and I gave her gripe water with made with fennel and catnip and things like the herbs that are safe for a baby to take. Obviously you can't give anything strong. But I started as soon as I saw that it worked, I was a convert. I'm like, all right, this is it. I had known, like, I'd grown up with a little bit of homeopathic medicine and stuff, but it's homeopathy is different than herbalism in a lot of ways. So you know, I guess it helps that I grew up around some nature, but I wasn't like raised to be an herbalist or anything. I had to choose. I started studying herbalism like intently, as in, oh my gosh, I want to be an herbalist around 2018. Like I found out that herbalism or being an herbalist was a career option, was a thing that you could be. And I said, that's it. That's for me. That's what I want to do. So I started learning, and I've been learning ever since. I still learn new things every day.
This is so fascinating. And the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm sure our audience is going to want to know, when you're foraging, you're looking for things that are edible, correct?
Yep.
And the first thing they're going to want to know is, how do I know it's not poisonous? I mean, people have those funny looking mushrooms in their front yard. They're not the kind you put on steak, right? I mean, like, so how
Well,
do you know when something is poisonous and it's not?
so I will say it's probably not the best idea to get started with mushrooms. I know I got mushrooms all over my shirt and I recognize all of these, but if you're just getting started and you want on the safe side, don't start off with mushrooms just because it is a lot easier to accidentally pick the wrong kind of mushroom and poison yourself than it is to accidentally pick the wrong kind of plant. I mean, there are obviously plants that can kill you out there, but they're far less common than there are mushrooms that can make you sick. And in all honesty, most of the time, just to ease your mind, hopefully this eases your mind a little bit, the majority of the time you pick something, if you pick the wrong plant or mushroom, the majority of the time, the worst thing you're going to get is either vomiting or diarrhea. It's not necessarily going to, kill you. But because there is that chance that you could pick the wrong thing, a lot of people just stay away from it. That's why I usually suggest you start off with something fairly ubiquitous, fairly easy to find, easy to identify and recognize. I usually suggest starting with dandelions because dandelions are so easy to identify. Dandelions are not native to the United States. They were brought over here from Europe. So they're not native to North America. They were brought over by the colonizers as food and medicine because all parts of the dandelion are edible and medicinal. I think technically if you have a latex allergy, you don't want to be eating the stem or you have to be careful with some parts of the dandelion. Also, it's in the Asteraceae family. So if you're allergic to anything in the Asteraceae family, which is like chamomile or asters or anything like that, you have to be careful. But for everybody else, dandelions are absolutely delicious and they're easy to spot. And the thing is, there are some plants that look like dandelions, like there are accidental lookalikes. However, none of the plants that look like a dandelion are toxic. So, worst case scenario, if you pick the wrong thing and you think it's a dandelion and it's not, it's probably not going to taste very good, but you're not going to die or anything. You're just going to be like, oh, that tastes gross. I don't know why she said dandelions are good. You
So,
know.
so what would you use dandelion for in a medicinal uh point?
So medicinally, the easiest, quickest way to talk about it is that the leaves are a digestive tonic. They help support kidney function. Whether you make them into a tea or a tincture or something like that, you can eat them just as part of a salad, or you can saute them in a stir fry or saute them like a vegetable. Dandelion salad is a thing in France. Like everybody in France does a dandelion salad first thing in the spring. Because if you think about it, like I know we're just going into winter at the moment, but if you think about what it's like for your body coming out of winter, you've been eating heavy soups and thick stews and root vegetables and that sort of like heavy meals, right? You're by the time like March or April rolls around, your body's screaming for fresh vegetables. You're like, oh my God, I want something green.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can go to the grocery store and get some cheap salad bag or something like that. Or, if you live in the right kind of area, you can go outside and find some dandelion greens because they're one of the first things to come up. And they are bitter. They're not super bitter. They're not like horribly bitter. They're a little bit sweeter in the spring, but you want that bitter flavor. I could go on a diatribe for hours about how the bitter flavor is actually good for you, but especially first thing in the spring, picking some of those bitter wild greens is really, really excellent for your body and your digestive health because again, since you've been sitting all winter, not moving as much and eating all those heavy, fatty, thicker foods, your body needs help to digest and expel all that extra fat and stuff. And the bitter greens start getting your gallbladder juices going, your liver juices going. They support that internal digestion. So that's awesome. Also, the flowers are edible. They're nice. They're wonderful. You can make fritters. You can make dandelion wine. You could just eat them straight. I eat them straight all the time.
Wow.
But the roots, this is we're filming this in late autumn right now, and honestly, dandelion root is so delicious. So raw, fresh dandelion root is specific for liver function. If you make it a tincture or a tea or something like that, it's going to be on the bitter side, like more bitter than the greens. But that again, that bitter flavor is awesome for your digestion, your gallbladder. If you take those same dandelion roots and you wash them off in your kitchen, chop them up, stick them on a baking tray, and put them in your oven, roast them at like 350 for about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little longer, if they're like really fat ones. Um, your whole kitchen starts smelling like chocolate because
Oh
roasted
my
dandelion
goodness.
root smells and tastes very much like chocolate. It's been used as a coffee substitute for like thousands of years. People, because it's got that same chocolatey mocha kind of flavor to it. It doesn't have any caffeine in it, but if you were like, I don't have coffee anywhere, I'm in a survival situation, I need something that flavor just to make me feel that joy of coffee again. Roasted dandelion root tea is very, very similar, and I love it. I have a cup of it every night before bed. It's absolutely delicious, and
That
it's
is
relaxing.
amazing.
I put a little bit of stevia and butter in it, so it tastes like a mocha latte. It's really good.
Oh,
It's very nice,
so,
and it's supporting my liver.
oh,
So,
that's right.
and
That
I can
is
dig them up for
wonderful.
free in my backyard.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love hearing this. Who would think that what we consider a weed would be so rich and abundant and help us so much? Now, because we are approaching the winter season, is there one thing specifically that we could recommend people learn a little bit about at this time for the winter?
Boosting your immune system, probably.
Yeah. Yeah,
You want to pay
because
attention to your immune system.
this is the time, right?
This is the
Everybody's worried
time.
about getting a cold or the flu or whatever.
Well, you're going to be really worried about it come like November, December, or January. So, part of the reason that some of the reasons that people get sick in the wintertime are less activity. You're outdoors a lot less. Your vitamin D, basically, your body soaks up the vitamin D from the sun all year, but then starting in mid to end of October, November, the sun is not at the correct angle for your body to be able to make vitamin D anymore. So you either need to supplement with vitamin D, which is actually a really good idea in the wintertime, or just pay attention to your vitamin D levels because that affects your immune system. 85% of your immune system is in your gut. So in the like Thanksgiving and Christmas time when people are eating a lot of fatty, sugary, like we're eating a lot of cookies and candy and all that kind of stuff, that honestly is a huge detriment to our digestive microbiome, and it does not help your immune system. So you need to be doing things like either cleansing or supporting your immune system in some way, supporting your digestive health, probiotics or kombucha or fermented foods, things like that are really going to be helpful. Plus they'll give you the extra fiber, they'll give you the extra that boost to your immune system to help you not be so sick in the dead of winter.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure everybody's dying to know how they can find you. And if you have any classes, like how do you teach people or where do you teach people?
So I live in Connecticut. I do teach in-person classes. I all the time foraging and herbalism and workshops and things like that. I'm happy to travel if anybody wants me out somewhere. I do teach classes online as well. I make a lot of content on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. My classes website is herbalremediesbyamelia.com. My main website that shows like everything about me is blacksunfarmct.com because I'm the owner of Black Sun Farm. If you ever Googled Amelia from Black Sun Farm or anything about Black Sun Farm, I guarantee something about me is going to come up. So
We
that's
will make
that's where you find me.
sure, yeah, we're going to make sure all the links and everything are available to the audience for sure. And do you have something that you would like to offer the guests that are watching today?
I do. Yes, I'm offering my free foraging guide. It's how to get started with foraging wild foods and herbal medicines. easily in your own backyard because so many people are so afraid to get started. This is like all the points you need to remember before you go. And remember, you don't have to go digging deep in the forest. You don't have to go on a 10-mile hike to go foraging. You can go literally 10 feet outside your back door and probably find stuff to forage.
That is awesome. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. Now, so we right now we're wrapping it up. You've talked about how you got into it, which was fascinating. And gosh, just learning about dandelion and the connection with the taste of chocolate just has me all excited. But is there anything that you would like to, your last words to say to the audience?
Remember that food is medicine and nature is there to take care of us. It's not there to scare you. It's nothing to be afraid of. So be barefoot as often as you can. Put your bare feet on the earth as much as you can and you know, learn to be one with her.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amelia. You have educated all of us, and well, I think everybody's going to be dying to find out how to find stuff in their yards. Wow. No wonder the animals are so happy in my yard.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.